And yet somehow they put a whole bunch of people together with a elephant howdah type construction on the back of one of these worms.
Yeah.
Is there some Dune subway station somewhere they're not showing us where the worms get pushed down this tunnel, then they stop them and they say, mind the gap, and they all climb on and then let them go. Right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Flickering Dreams again. We have a few films to look at this week, and we are also going to be in the run-up to the Oscars next Sunday. So we will preview a special Oscar prediction show that we'll be releasing in a couple of days' time with our own views of the Oscars. But in this podcast, we are going to be looking at the big film, and I mean big film of the week, which is Dune Part 2. We're also looking at Spaceman, and we are going to give quick reviews as well of the following films: Lisa Frankenstein, Dr. Jeckyll, which is on Apple, The Parades, which is on Netflix, and the Persian version out in cinemas, and also Cabrini, which will be out in cinemas soon. We may actually return to some of those films when more of us have seen them, but we're going to give you quick 1-minute reviews of that. So we are joined tonight by Scott Forbes of the Forbes Film and TV Review, and also the Reverend Andy Godfrey from Sorted Magazine and Konnect Radio. Konnect with a K. And we are going to start here with, I say that, big film of the week, which is Dune 2. So in Dune 2, after betrayal by the Emperor, played by Christopher Walken in this film, and Baron Harkonnen, returning from the first film, played by Stellan Skarsgård, the House of Atreides is all but destroyed. But Paul Atreides, played by Timothée Chalamet, and his mother, played by Rebecca Ferguson, have survived, and they seek acceptance from the Fremen. Some see Paul as the new Messiah, but others, non-believers, think he's just a very naughty boy and see him as a dangerous spy. Let's see a clip.
You've been fighting the Harkonnens for decades.
Look!
My family's been fighting them for centuries.
Your blood comes from dukes and great houses. Here, we're equal. What we do for the benefit of all.
Well, I'd very much like to be equal to you.
Maybe I'll show you the way.
Nothing like a good snog on a sand dune, is there? And takes me back to my teenage days. Right. Too much information.
Definitely.
This is epic in the true sense of the word, I have to say. There's action, there's adventure, there's revenge, there's death, there's new life, there's love, as you saw there. There is loss, and there's more than a good old dose of religion. And all of this stuff gets mixed up by Denis Villeneuve and splattered onto the widescreen with absolutely superb sound and a wonderful score by Hans Zimmer. The desert scenes you see are really something, and this is a film that really you have to see on the big screen. The actual deserts were in Abu Dhabi, Jordan, and Namibia, but I was utterly engrossed in this, I have to say. I think the key thing in the film, and I said after coming out, well, that's the Oscar for best sound wrapped up, is the sound design, right from the deafening opening words spoken in some foreign language. I'm not sure which alien language it's supposed to be. The rest of the sound combined with the music, there are points, as in Oppenheimer, when your seat actually physically starts to vibrate underneath you with the low sounds coming out of the speakers. I say Hans Zimmer score. Again, I'll be surprised if this doesn't win best Oscar for next year for best score. And the actual cinematography is superb. Many of the pictures that you see on the screen, you could pluck off the screen and stick on an art gallery wall, I think, and charge people to go and see it. I thought the acting was really good, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's some acting nominations that come out of this film. I thought particularly well with Javier Bardem and Rebecca Ferguson. I thought they were both particularly good in this. Zendaya is just magnetic in it, and for once, Willy Wonka actually didn't look too bad. I didn't actually think of him as Timothée Chalamet for a lot of the film. I thought he did a good job. Almost unrecognizable in the film is Austin Butler as this psychotic Fade Rafa, and I thought he was really good. And there was also a surprise cameo, which I actually put in my online review, but I won't spoil on this podcast, of somebody that I wasn't expecting to see in the film. So that was terrific. My only negatives were, it's a long old film, but for me it wasn't long enough. There were times when some of the scenes just felt quite rushed, and there was a few examples. Some of the battle scenes seemed to be almost finished too early. There's like a gladiatorial scene in the finale, which I thought could have gone on as in kind of the film Gladiator for a good 8 or 9 minutes of back and forth and playing to the crowd, but it kind of ends very suddenly. And I actually thought that this could have been a part 2 and a part 3 here, both as 2-hour films rather than having a nearly 3-hour squashed together part 1. It just felt to me as if it was a little bit stuck, squashed in rather into this feature. But I absolutely loved it, and I'll now hand over to Scott, who I know was not necessarily a fan of the original Dune.
Yeah, I think me and Emma both had mentioned in the previous episode we were on that we weren't big fans. I think there was a lot going on, a lot of characters, a lot of tribes, a lot of heavy lore that you have to try and understand. It was long and, in my opinion, a little bit boring at points. Not all of it, but some of it was. And so I went into this one hopeful, and I did enjoy this much more.
Okay.
I thought that if I was going to say the negatives, I would say I did not feel the emotional connection that a lot of people have with this. And perhaps that is because there's so much going on that I didn't fully understand what I was watching all the time. And because there was so many characters, I was thinking, who are they? What's their relationship to them again? And how are they connected? And what does that mean for that person if that person over there is doing this? And I was trying to think about it when I was watching it, to the point where I'm like, I wasn't fully engaged in what I was watching because I was too busy trying to figure it out. And so that part left me a little bit cold. But in terms of pure filmmaking, I mean, I could just rattle through Oscar categories at this point: cinematography, visual effects, sound, score.
Absolutely.
It's just all of these things that Denis Villeneuve and the rest of the team behind it have put together is fantastic. Production design, costume design, particularly with Florence Pugh's costumes, and I thought everything she was wearing looked really stylish.
Everything she did, I think, was fabulous in this film. I just wanted to see more of her.
I mean, just in general, Florence Pugh is just amazing anyway. So, yeah, I think the performances were good across the board. I don't see Oscar nominations for the acting, unless there's a very sort of dark horse Austin Butler surprise supporting nomination. I don't feel that this is an acting movie, but will it be like the previous movie where it picks up like all of the techs? Possibly. But then in Oscar history, how often do you find that when a movie does haul, that then the sequel hauls on all the same ones?
Lord of the Rings?
Yeah, I was going to say Lord of the Rings. And that one Best Picture, didn't it, for Return of the King?
Yeah.
This feels like it could be a Best Picture winner as well for me.
Well, the thing is that Return of the King was the final one, and there's a big question mark with this in terms of, is this the end?
No. I believe Dune Messiah has already been.
Has it been announced?
Yeah.
Okay. Because, the way it ended, I was like, wait a minute, I didn't know that there was going to be a third one, and then you've just left this open to this whole other story. And I was like, so it's like the last one where at least the last one we knew it wasn't the end, whereas this one, it got to the end and I'm like, there's still more story. I was like, But yeah, so I enjoyed it. I wouldn't say I love these Dune movies, but I was definitely entertained with this one.
Good. Andy, anything to add?
I just absolutely loved it, Bob. I'm with you. It's not very often we say that a film isn't long enough. I agree. I could have sat there longer and watched a lot more. I mean, I don't know about you guys. I grew up reading the Dune books, and Scott, you say about how much more story is there. Mm-hmm. There were actually 23 Dune books, so we've got the potential for an awful lot more movies. And who knows? I mean, I could perhaps see this becoming a TV series as a spin-off, perhaps, with telling the rest of the Dune books, in the sort of spin-off series. I
think it's fair to say that the Dune book, the quality of the books tended to...
they did. I mean, I read all 23, decline. And they did go slowly downhill after the first couple, yeah. But I really loved it. And having seen the David Lynch version, remember seeing that at the cinema, which was a total and utter mess. This is incredible. This is fantastic. The worms looked more impressive than last time.
Man, don't they? When they come out those dunes like that.
Yeah.
It's absolutely.
The story is progressing. The story progressed nicely. For me, this is one of the best sequels I've seen since Aliens. And I really just thought it was excellent. I can't add much more to what you guys have said, but I absolutely loved it. And yeah, I will be first in the queue for Dune Messiah when it comes out. Yeah.
I had one other quibble that you see the efforts that Paul Atreides has to run at full pelt along a sand dune and jump on the back of one of these worms as it's whizzing along. And yet somehow, right, they put a whole bunch of people together with a kind of elephant howdah type construction on the back of one of these worms. Yeah. How did that happen? Is there some dune subway station somewhere that they're not showing us where the worms get pushed down this tunnel? And then they stop them and they say, mind the gap, and they all climb on and then let them go. Right. I mean,
if Bryce Howard can outrun a T-Rex in high heels in a storm, anything's possible.
Yeah. That was my one quibble. I say I don't want to piss all over the sci-fi fans.
Didn't even occur to me, to be honest, Bob.
But I thought, how on earth did they all get on there? Yeah. Scores on the doors end for Dune. I'm going to give this one a 10 out of 10. Scott?
For me, it's a 7.
7. And Andy?
It's a 10.
10, so that's 27 divided by 3. That's a 9.0 for the Flickering Dreams score, making Dune Part 2 a hit. Wonderful. Okay, now it's time for a little bit of this.
I'm going to go with my gut this week.
So this
after last week's disaster.
This is the film quiz. We've only got Scott and Andy online, but before we came on air, I also let Emma and Dan play this round because this is the last round in this current game of the film quiz. So just in the run into this, just to advise you where the scores were, Scott was in the lead with 340. Emma was 50 points behind with 290. Andy and Dan shared third place with 200 points. So it's really between Emma and Scott. So if Emma got maximum points in her round and Scott doesn't know this film, then I think that would be a tie. So let's.
And you're not going to reveal her points before?
No, I'm not.
Okay,
here we go then with picture number 1. See if you can identify this film.
No, not writing anything down. No, not a clue.
Nope, not a clue. I think this is quite a difficult one this week, but Emma might not have. Here's picture number 2.
No, still not writing anything down.
Still not writing. Picture number 3.
Oh,
Oh,
Ooh, Scott is looking as if that.
I'm not writing anything down. No, I just.
neither am I, but I've got a film in mind.
Got a film in mind. Picture number 4 coming up then.
Okay, well, it wasn't that film.
No. I haven't got a Scooby Dooby this week.
Jackie Chan. What's that, Jackie Chan?
Oh, well, yeah.
Nope.
No.
Picture
No,
number
Bob,
5
sorry.
then coming up.
I know it. I know it. I just can't think of the title.
I mean, I know a title, but which one? I'm trying to see how young did they look there. Which do I take a potential -10 if I get the wrong one?
Is he going?
I'm
Or is he going,
thinking,
or is
but-
he sticking? Is he going or is he sticking?
So Emma would need if I do nothing, Emma needed to get it on the first one. Did she get it on the first one? I don't think she got it on the first one.
I've written something down on number 5.
I'm not going to write anything.
Not going to write anything.
I'm not going to risk that.
I got
-10.
nothing to lose.
I think that's a good strategic decision. So, what did you
It's
write
one of
down,
the Rush Hour films.
Andy?
I wrote down Ride On.
Ride On. Well, that's a
one of the Rush
-10
Hours,
for Andy
but-
Godfrey. And
Which-
this
which
is the
Rush
Yeah,
answer.
it's one of the Rush Hours, isn't it?
I'd be tempted to say 2, but I don't know. It's 3. Oh, it's a good job I didn't write it.
Well, Dan wrote down on
Rush
Go
Hour 3.
5, Rush Hour 2.
Oh,
And Emma wrote down on Go 5, Rush Hour 2. So,
really?
so the champion then of this round of Dr. Bob's Movie Mystery Montage is Scott with a score of 340.
Well done, Scott.
Well done, Scott.
Thank you. I'd like to thank God. I'd like to thank my parents. I'd like to thank Cineworld for the cards that they gave me to see so many movies.
Yeah, there we go. And Emma's in second place with 280 points. And Andy and Dan bring up the rear with 190 points. So they share the third place. We'll call it third place, Andy.
Dan and I are the two old. Dan and I are both older than Emma and Scott, because I'm going to say that's what's obviously made the difference.
Oh, maybe.
Except for the fact that Dan, of course, wasn't here for half of it. I'm feeling rubbish. I'm feeling useless.
No,
I think Dan's a little bit younger
let's
than
just
me.
gloss over that fact. Yes.
All right.
That was Rush Hour 3. It was
3.
Number 642 in our top 1,000 box office films. So made a decent amount of money, didn't it, for a second sequel?
Wasn't as good as the first 2.
There you go. Back to the films, and we're looking at a film. I haven't noted down where this is. I think it's on Netflix, isn't it? And that is Spaceman. Scott, do you want to introduce that to us?
Not really.
Oh,
This is
disagreement coming up.
This is interesting because I've heard some people really, really positive about this film, and some people very, very negative.
Well, Spaceman, in my humble opinion, is a film about starring Adam Sandler as an astronaut who is on a solo mission on the edge of the solar system, and he is unwell, and all of a sudden there is a giant talking spider who starts talking to him about relationships. Show a clip.
6 months in isolation, you start thinking too much.
I'm getting interference.
I did not intend to frighten you, skinny human. Do not be afraid. I'm losing my mind. You wish to know if I am real. I am like you, an explorer.
So, Skinny Human, do you want to carry on and talk about this this film?
Okay,
Which I must admit, I haven't seen it. I've been focused on my Oscar films this week.
Fair enough. So, serious Sandler. It's a thing that in modern times is a lot better than comedy Sandler.
Mm-hmm.
But this one is a little bit... It's very experimental. It is very trippy in a way. And even though he's an astronaut, this is not a sci-fi movie. This is not a thriller in any way. This is quite a straightforward emotional drama just for people that have taken hallucinogenics. So we see him with his struggles. He's struggling with sort of sleep and his health. We see back home there is a pregnant wife or girlfriend, I can't remember exactly if they're married, played by Carey Mulligan, and he is missing her and spends most of the movie talking to this spider about her and about love and relationships. I just did not really know what I was watching, to be honest, Bob. I put this on not knowing anything more than the title, and it starred Adam Sandler and Carey Mulligan. So when I was watching it unfold, I was like, what did I put on? I just found it a bit tedious, to be honest. It definitely swings for the fences. And I can see the people who do like it, that can embrace the weirdness and look at it on a deeper level. There probably is something interesting in there, but it was just a little bit over the top and strange for me as a way of going into these themes and telling these ideas. It feels like it's Adam Sandler Netflix money when he's just doing whatever because Netflix have this deal where it seems like he can just do whatever he wants, whether they're wacky ideas or good serious ideas. I feel like Andy might go into a little bit more interesting areas in terms of how he feels about the themes of this. For me, it was just weird and dull.
Weird and dull. Okay. I mean, you talk about psychological drama in space, and my mind immediately goes to Solaris.
Thank you, Bob. I was just going to mention Solaris.
Okay, there you go. Over to you then, Andy.
Yeah, so this really is a kind of updated Solaris in some respects, because in Solaris, both the original Russian film and the George Clooney film, he was having visions back of Earth and trying to communicate with his wife and all sorts of things. I was actually thinking of Dark Star, believe it or not, when I was watching this.
Okay.
Because the tagline for Dark Star was bombed out in space with a spaced out bomb. And the tagline for this could be bombed out in space with a talking spider. It's what Gene Roddenberry called cerebral science fiction, which is what he said he was trying to achieve with Star Trek. Looking at the human condition, looking at what makes us human, looking at what matters to us and what makes us tick as human beings. So I thought the themes were really, really interesting. He's out there in space on a mission to investigate a strange area of space that's appeared in the sky, basically. I thought it was really interesting. He's from Czech. He's a Czech astronaut. He's not American. He's not been sent out by the Brits. He's been sent out by the Czechs. And this is kind of a future world where smaller nations are as equally as important as some of the bigger ones. And maybe that's trying to say something as well. But I thought that the way in which his relationship with his wife, and I thought Carey Mulligan was great in this, is depicted, was really good, really touching, really deeply moving. I found their relationship, the twos and throws, quite compelling. And the fact that we go backwards and forwards in time, seeing how they met, how they got married and everything else, I found it really quite compelling and I enjoyed it. Special effects I thought were quite good. I thought the spider was quite convincing. I thought the score was quite good. So yeah, this isn't Aliens, this isn't Dune, this isn't all guns blazing. This is cerebral science fiction. This is meant to be thought-provoking and an examination of the human condition using science fiction as a medium. It did really make me think of Solaris. Perhaps for the Russian version, even more than the George Clooney one, if I'm honest. But I really thought it was really, really good. Yeah.
Okay. I think we're going to have some diverse scores here. I haven't seen it, so I haven't got a score. Scott, score out of 10.
Yeah, so Andy reminded me there about the visual effects and score, which were the two things that I did like about this film. The score in particular was really nice. But as my score, I'm going to give it a 4.
4 out of 10. Andy?
7. 7 out of 10.
That's 11, giving us a Flickering Dreams score of 5.5, making Spaceman with Adam Sandler a miss from us. Okay. Right, we're now going to have a quick look at the top 10. And there's something a little bit special for Mr. Chalamet about this top 10, because he has now got 2 films in the top 10. Number 1 is quite obviously Dune Part 2, starring Mr. Chalamet. And that has made over 9 million quid in its first week, which is pretty good going for first week. This is up to the 1st of March, by the way. For some reason, the week seems to be shorter in terms of what the statistics have been gathered. So actually, in the full week, it will have been even bigger than that. At number 2 is Bob Marley, One Love, still doing good business. I still haven't seen this film because of my Egypt holiday, and I haven't caught up with that. That's been 4 weeks in the charts. It's made close to £14 million, which is pretty good. At number 3 is Wicked Little Letters that we reviewed last week. 2 weeks in the chart. It's made over 4 million quid. So I think I said last week, I think that's going to attract word of mouth for the silver dollar to go into cinemas and see it. And I think that seems to be happening. That's a pretty good result for that. At number 4 is Migration. 5 weeks in the chart. £17.5 million. Kids are still flocking to it in droves or whatever, or flocks, I should say. You get a flock of ducks. At number 5, 4 weeks in the chart, it's still at number 5. Who's going to see this film? It's Madam Web, which again we reviewed last week, and that's made close to £4 million in total.
Unbelievable. At
number 6 is the next appearance of Mr. Chalamet as Wonka. 13 weeks in the chart. Creeping up slowly. It's adding a few 100,000 every week, isn't it? We're getting close to £63 million for Wonka. And number 7 is a Hindi film called Manjumal Boys. And I had to look this up on IMDb, and I was most amused by the user review that popped up on my screen at the top of the thing. It said, Manjumal Boys is a cinematic marvel that captivates audience with its impeccable direction and compelling storytelling. From the outset, it established itself as a masterpiece, deserving of the highest praise. The casting choices are impeccable, with each actor delivering performances that are not just top class, but also remarkably authentic and evocative. So there you are. I know nothing else about the film, but it's been out for 2 weeks and it's made nearly 400,000. And number 8 is The Zone of Interest that we've talked about ad infinitum for the last few weeks. And that's Jonathan Glazer's film, 5 weeks on release, over £2.5 million. So keeps sticking in there and adding on money. There's been quite a lot of Oscar releases in the last couple of weeks in films, which have been actually really well attended. I took The Illustrious Mrs. Movie Man and The Saintly Sarah Shaw to see American Fiction again this week, because they hadn't seen it, and they both absolutely thoroughly enjoyed it. But if you look around in Cineworld, particularly over this weekend, you will find a lot of the Oscar films out on re-release, which is good. At number 9, a film, again, which we talked about last week, is Perfect Days. Did we talk about Perfect Days last week? Andy, did you see that?
I haven't seen Perfect Days, no.
Oh, right. Well, we clearly didn't talk about it. No, I was looking for it to go and see it, and I couldn't actually find it.
I'm going up to London on Monday for Mark Commode's show, and might try and find a screening in the afternoon somewhere.
Right. It's probably available to stream on Mubi, because it's actually distributed by Mubi. And that's 2 weeks in the chart at number 9. And at number 10 is a film called Sami Swoi. Could be anything. Pozatek. My uncle was Polish, so I really should know a bit of Polish. Sami Swoi Pozatek, which is a Polish film. I did look at the trailer, and it looks like a sort of Polish rom-com set it on a country farm. Now, I'm not going to say anything bad about this film, partly because I haven't seen it, but partly we, notably Andy, got so much shit for our review of The Peasants that we posted online, which is a beloved classic of the Polish community.
I am never going to live this down, and I shouldn't be telling you, but I went to Poland backwards and forwards for 10 years and discovered in that time that the Polish word for waffle is actually Godfrey. And that's true.
Wonderful.
My colleagues thought that was hilarious, of course.
Oh, dear. Yes. Andy, if you want to have some fun, go and look up the YouTube video for The Peasants and see the diatribe.
I know.
It almost looks like one of Scott Forbes' Facebook posts for one of his films.
I am well aware.
He's unliked. Yeah. Right. Okay. So those are the two main films we're going to look at. So we haven't got great coverage of the films this week. In fact, the next set of 5 films, only one of us, I think, have seen. So we'll do some very quick rattle through these films with our initial views. And as I say, maybe we'll come back to them later. I do have some clips to show from them. So, Andy, let's start off with Lisa Frankenstein. Let's see the clip first.
We're seeing the clip, are we? Okay.
Yeah.
Lisa! Does he have more of a basketball bod or a football bod?
He doesn't play sports. I tend to his grave. I talk to him. I wish I was with you.
That's really weird, Lisa.
You hear that? I'm sure it's the girl next door. She's very odd.
Has more than a hint of the Tim Burton's about that. Do you want to say
there's
something
a bit
about
of
that,
Edward
Andy?
Scissorhands about this. Yeah. A misunderstood teenager and a reanimated Victorian corpse is what we're dealing with here. Can I just say how great it is to see a fantastic title sequence? You remember the old Pink Panther movies where the title sequence actually told some of the story?
Yeah.
The background to this story, the background to how the Victorian guy dies, is told in animation in the opening titles. And it's absolutely wonderful. I just enjoyed the heck out of it for that alone. The fact that we've got decent opening title sequence that actually tells a story and tells us how this young Victorian man came to be buried and came to die. Gory, funny, coming of age. It's a love story. It's a murder story. There's so much going on. You name the genre, and basically it's in there. They've thrown in every genre by the kitchen sink. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I mean, it's just 107 minutes of total nonsense, but it's great fun. I laughed. I thought that the gore was quite well. Some people are complaining it's not gory enough. Well, it's a matter of personal taste. It was gory enough for me. There's a big clue in the title as to actually what's going on. And I think that the film just was good fun. What more do you want? A misunderstood teenager and a murderous Victorian reanimated corpse who learns, by the way, how to drive a car without apparently having received any instruction.
It does look good fun. Good. Score out of 10 from you?
8.
8 out of 10.
Just because I had so much fun. Yeah.
Okay. Next up, we've got in our quick reviews, that was longer than a minute, Andy.
Sorry.
Is Dr. Jeckyll, starring the one and only Eddie Izzard. Here's a clip of that.
I hate you're working for Nina Jeckyll all alone up there.
I have a daughter, and to see her, I need this job.
You forgot Nina's meds.
Arya's lucky to have such a determined father. Maybe I am the making of you. Check.
I think this is on Apple TV, isn't it?
This is on Apple TV.
Yeah.
Dr. Nina Jeckyll is making a fortune in the pharmaceutical industry, needs help because she's not very well. She hires an assistant. The assistant finds out her secret. This is Eddie Izzard really, really, really hamming it up. And I mean really hamming it up. But again, quite a nice horror story, big gothic mansion, thunder and lightning happening all over the place, people running around changing and transforming into hideous monsters. Again, good fun. Not the best version of the Jeckyll story I've ever seen by a long way, But, you got to go a long way to beat somebody like Izzard when he's really hamming it up and really playing things for laughs. I thought it was fine.
Is it supposed to be a comedy then?
It's a horror comedy.
A horror comedy, okay. Right.
Yeah, and IMDb gave it 5 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes gave it 38%. I'm a bit higher than that. I enjoyed it a little bit more. I gave it 6 out of 10.
6
It's
out
not
of 10.
great. It's not bad. It's above average, but it's not
Okie dokie.
great.
So that's Dr. Jeckyll on Apple Plus. Gets a 6 out of 10. Next up, a film that I think Scott's the only one who's seen it, which is called The Parades. Let's see a clip of that.
Bill. Mama. No.
Whoa. This looks intriguing.
It does.
We're kind of in all of us strangers territory here.
A little bit. So, yeah, this one surprised me because I saw a trailer for it on Netflix and was like, I don't know what this is. I'm going to watch it. We see our lead character, Minako, who wakes up on a beach after a natural disaster, and she's looking for her son, who she can't find anymore. And she gradually comes to realize that she's actually dead. And she is now in between worlds. And she comes across another group of people that have passed on, but are still seemingly on Earth. And they have to try and work out their unfinished business and find a way to bond with each other, find out each other's stories, and figure out a way to pass to the other side.
The Japanese version of Heaven Can Wait, then. Yeah.
There we go, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's on Netflix.
Okay, all right. That looks worth a watch. From the sublime to the ridiculous now, we're looking at another film.
Just
I think
a quick
this
one
is
to score on that one.
Oh, yeah, score, yes.
Okay. I'm going to give this one a score of 7 out of 10.
7 out of 10, okay. Yeah.
Look out for that.
My mind is elsewhere today. It's all over the place. I was out carousing with old work colleagues till 2 a.m. Last night. So drinking
We'll
Japanese whiskey, which was not a great idea. But yeah, so my brain is pickled. We're going to look at a film. I think Andy, you've seen this. It's out in cinemas. I think though it might be a limited release. It's the Persian version. Here's a clip of that.
Amazing, and congratulations.
No one ever gave her the memo that Muslim women were supposed to be passive good girls.
This is my family in a nutshell. The disco king, the troublemaker, JFK Jr. minus the plane crash, the brainiac, the goth, the hippie, the greaser, and the metrosexual. And me.
Oh my god, I love drag queens.
Oh no, I'm an actor.
You're so beautiful until you talk.
So this is, how much I hated my big fat Greek family wedding, whatever it was. This is my big fat Iranian family done really well. However, don't be fooled by the trailer. This is a film of 2 parts. The first part is all singing, all dancing, very, very funny, animated characters on screen, captions on screen, characters breaking the fourth wall all over the place. After that first half hour, 45 minutes, it gets really heavy. We go into central character's past. We meet her mother, who was a teenage bride in Iran, and tragedy ensues. I mean, real, genuine, heartbreaking tragedy. And the film, for the first 45 minutes, all singing, all laughing, all dancing, fun. The next 45 minutes, it's as heavy and as tragic and as depressing as it gets. And then they introduce a bit of humour again back at the end. So it's a film of 2 parts. It's worth seeing. Both parts score 7, but it really is a film.
Different films.
Yeah, but it's almost 2 films in one. Really strange. Really strange.
I bet that trailer
really
trips a lot of people up then, going to see it.
Yeah.
Almost on
the
false
trailer
pretenses.
does not tell you the whole story by a long way.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Intriguing. Okay. And the last film we're briefly going to look at here is a film called Cabrini. Here's a clip of that.
This is America, the greatest nation on earth, where rats have it better than Italian children.
If we are to build an empire of hope, we must first conquer New York.
Our New York.
Is that John Lithgow hiding underneath big bushy beard? Yes. I don't think this one's out yet. Is this one coming out in cinemas?
Okay, so it's in cinemas, including Cineworld, on March the 8th as part of International Women's Day. And then it's got a more general release in cinemas for March the 15th. So we're in New York, 1889. True story of a nun who wanted to go to China to build orphanages and hospitals, was sent instead by the then Pope to New York, claiming a woman could not go to China. The church did not want a woman in China. She goes to New York. She faces overwhelming odds in building hospitals and orphanages, but manages to do so and ended up forming a foundation that even to this day has got hundreds of orphanages and hospitals in her name all over the world. It's a remarkable film. It's beautifully shot. There's a standard scene of people arriving in New York past the Statue of Liberty. But once you get past that, the poverty of New York in 1889 is graphically illustrated. The obstacles she faced, but not least being a woman in a very men's world and dealing with the poverty is quite incredible. There's one point where she actually bribes the mayor of New York, saying, think of all the people who will vote for you if you let me build a hospital. All those people who go in there will vote for you. So she was a very clever lady. Very good film. Excellent film. Really worth seeking out. And I gave it an 8.
Okay, we may return to that and give it a full review at a later date. Okay, that's all of our films we're looking at today. Just in any other business, we are recording this in the week before the Oscars. And so immediately after we finish this podcast, we're going to start another one where we are going to do our predictions as a team for the Oscar categories. So stay tuned. That will probably be released on Saturday at some point when I get round to editing it. So that's a lot for this edition of Flickering Dreams, unless you guys had any other more therapy.
Not for me.
Okay,
I think maybe a quick one. Don't assume you mentioned it last week. I don't think you did. There's a film, an Indian film out in cinemas that I saw called Joshua M.I. Paul Kaka, which was really good fun. It was essentially, if you take a mix of, how could I say it? It's lots of action genres. You take like the Raid films, the John Wick films, but you throw in the melodrama, Bollywood romance. It's all out action. You've got like really cheesy soap opera twists going on, but the music and the way it's edited together, it's a little bit Baby Driver-ish, where a lot of the action scenes are done at the beats of the music. So that was really cool. So yeah, a bit of cheesy Indian melodrama, but with some really cool action scenes. Definitely one stuff. Worth a quick watch if it ever comes to streaming.
Okay. Alrighty. So that's our Flickering Dreams for this episode. And my thanks to Scott and Andy. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel by clicking on the little James Bond icon that pops up on the screen just before the video finishes. But my thanks to Scott and Andy. And we'll see you again in the Oscar special coming up shortly. All right. Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care. God bless.
Thank you so much for listening or watching Flickering Dreams. You can find the video version on YouTube and the audio version on all major podcast platforms. And don't forget to subscribe so you can get each of the weekly episodes as they are released. We'll see you at the movies.